at 6. It's time now to join our colleagues for the news where you are. Goodbye.
Welcome to BBC Points West on this cold Wednesday evening. Thank you so much for joining us. Our main story tonight, railway workers to the rescue. They abseiled down an embankment to clear a major line in Somerset after the rain caused a landslide.
Access is really difficult here at Crewkerne Tunnel. The line isn't expected to open until Monday at the very earliest.
And on top of that, more wet weather is approaching. Our other headlines tonight: how artificial intelligence is transforming the health of elderly people in Somerset by spotting patterns of illness. And we surprise the incredible Hamza, a football coach who's been chosen as our sporting hero. Good evening, it's nice to be with you. The heavy rain of the last few days is continuing to cause misery, with more downpours expected in the next few hours and days. In Somerset in particular, some roads and rail lines have taken a real battering. Emergency teams are tackling the damage right now in advance of further rain tonight. Here's Ross Pollard.
It's a massive job. Several hundred tonnes worth of earth has come away from this embankment, closing the Crewkerne Tunnel. All journeys between South Somerset and Salisbury are cancelled.
We've got saturated ground conditions, which is making everything more hard for us. So yeah, it's a very complex task. So at the moment we've got people removing vegetations, we've got designers on the slope, we're doing temporary works designs to be able to put the plant on the slope when they arrive. So yeah, we're kind of waiting for that at the moment and doing everything we can to move this forward. We're dealing with slopes that are 200 years old. They're very steep, not built to modern standards, which makes our job even more difficult.
You can see some of the engineers on the hill there looking down at the damage. The problem is in this part of South Somerset there's lots of steep embankments and small country lanes which are flooded. Trying to get a large piece of machinery here to solve this collapse at the tunnel is proving quite difficult. You're hoping that this might be fixed by Monday. I mean, how hopeful are you?
We're hopeful at the moment. Like I said, we're waiting on the equipment to get to site to be able to start removing this material. We're dealing with the elements, so we've got some rain forecast on Thursday. We're hoping that doesn't cause more saturation and flooding of the roads locally.
Down the road in Martock, the clouds have arrived. Several properties flooded this week.
And Martock became, just after lunch, an island, with the 6 roads into Martock, all of them closed because of floodwater.
People are bracing themselves for the heavy rain tonight.
Concerned, worried, they've seen it once, they hope it's not going to happen again. And if actually the weather moves at a pace, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem. But if it's very slow, as happened the other day, it will be a problem and people know it.
With a yellow weather warning in place for much of the county, it's likely there will be more disruption tomorrow. Ross Pollard, BBC Points West, Somerset.
It's grim, isn't it? And Ian will be here later in the programme with more details on those weather warnings for heavy rain. And just to let you know, BBC Radio Somerset will be there for you from 6 o'clock tomorrow morning with the very latest. And you can listen live on BBC Sounds wherever you happen to be. Your friends will be there. 2 women from Gloucestershire who lost their mothers to COVID were at the public inquiry in London today to hear Boris Johnson explain his handling of the pandemic. Jane and Nicola's mums both died in care homes at a time when relatives could hardly visit. Our political editor, Paul Baltrop, reports.
They've followed every twist and turn of the inquiry. Jane Veervish-Boska and her friend Nicola had travelled up from Cirencester. Both their mothers caught COVID in care homes and died at a time when visiting was limited. This was the day they most wanted to attend.
It's important to be there, to see that person face to face, as it were. And I think it's important for them to see us as well, so that they can see the human cost of their action.
Boris Johnson was questioned by expert barristers. There was much focus on the weeks before we locked down, including the controversial decision to let the Cheltenham Festival go ahead.
The closure of mass gatherings would have sent a vital message, would it not? with hindsight, as a symbol of the government's earnestness, rather than just as being guided by the science, we should perhaps have done that.
He apologised, admitting they'd been slow to react as COVID arrived.
We were all collectively underestimating how fast it had already spread in the UK. We underestimated. We put the peak too late. The first peak too late. We thought it would be in May, June. That was totally wrong.
The questioning of Boris Johnson lasted 5 hours in total. It didn't satisfy the campaigners who'd been in the room.
We want answers, we want truth. Obviously, I want to hear that for my mum, who I lost because of this pandemic. But now it's important that we get answers so that we can learn for the future.
The amount of times where I can't remember was very surprising. You know, can you explain where you think you went wrong? Couldn't come up with anything.
Also following the inquiry closely are many scientists who were critical of the government's actions.
I think we knew that many decisions were taken which probably weren't in the country's best interest. But I still think it's surprising to hear it coming from the horse's mouth. Things like, if we'd actually stopped to think about the mathematical implications of the forecast and we'd believed them, we might have operated differently. What was the basis? Why did he not believe the mathematical forecast that he was given?
It's been an emotional and at times angry day at the inquiry. Some campaigners who protested inside were even asked to leave the first time that's happened. They don't feel the former Prime Minister has answered their questions, and they'll be watching carefully tomorrow when he comes back for more. Paul Bartrop, BBC Points West, the COVID inquiry in London.
A 16-year-old from London has been sentenced to life in prison for the murder of a teenager in Bath earlier this year. Ben Moncrief, who was 18, died after being stabbed outside McDonald's in Southgate. His killer, who can't be named because of his age, will serve a minimum of 15 years. Police are appealing for dash cam footage after a fatal accident on the Avon Ring Road yesterday afternoon. A scaffolding lorry collided with the central reservation, killing a passenger. A 37-year-old man has been arrested. A section of the road is being resurfaced and is due to reopen tomorrow. A supermarket in Gloucestershire was ram-raided in the early hours of this morning. This is the Tesco store in Bishop's Cleeve. After 3 vehicles were driven at the front door, the people involved didn't manage to break into the shop, but caused extensive damage to the outside, as you can see. Well, you're watching Points West and we're live here on BBC One. Have you noticed anything different about us tonight? Yes, I've got a new tie. Oh, and beside that, we have a brand new set. It's very modern and shiny. We love it, and I hope that you'll like it too. Now, there's still lots more to come, including the first sellout crowd at Twerton Park in 50 years as Bath City take on Yeovil Town tonight.
And more rain, potentially heavy rain, is on the way as we head later tonight and into tomorrow. We have a sequence of Met Office yellow weather warnings out for that. I'll have the details later in the programme.
He is standing by, but first, GPs are starting to use artificial intelligence to identify patterns in people's health. It's called Brave AI, and it's being tried out in Somerset to predict whether or not people will end up in hospital in the coming year. Christopher Mace reports.
Winter often means high rates of illness in care homes, but here at the Towers in Burnham-on-Sea, many of the residents, like Joan, say their recent health has improved.
100% better than I was last year. I can honestly say that, and I've had no antibiotics this year at all.
Through good sleep, we've now got back. And we've got a good chest,
yes,
which is great through all the equipment. But that came up through our Brave AI, so that's when I worked with my team, and you came up as a high risk.
So from 28,000 people, we can drill down to 8 people that would be of interest to the team. From those 8, we can then drill down to 1 person and get insights about what is actually driving their risk of going to hospital.
Brave AI looks at people's medical histories and assesses how likely it is they'll end up in hospital. But medical personnel say it's essential that all the decisions are made by people, not software.
For reassurance, it's not machine learning, artificial intelligence in isolation. It's very much about having humans looking at the record and thinking about what's right for that person, how can we help.
Since healthcare teams using Brave AI started visiting this care home, fewer residents have ended up in hospital.
It means that we get that knowledge and then I can spread it through the whole teams. Even our housekeepers, our kitchen staff, everyone's involved in making sure that we're giving the correct care to the individual. It means that the individual themselves are heard. They feel part of their own life rather than just us talking over the phone to a GP about symptoms. They've actually seen someone face to face.
The next stage of the rollout will see GP practices in Gloucestershire, Wiltshire and North Somerset using AI in the hope it'll help reduce hospital admissions. Christopher Mace, BBC Points West, Burnham-on-Sea.
Gosh, a glimpse of the future there, I think, and reducing hospital admissions is something welcomed by the South Western Ambulance Service. It's using a system that allows non-emergency patients to be treated at home. Now, last year it was rated as the worst in the country when it came to the amount of time lost due to ambulance delays.
There is no one bit of the system that is to blame. Ultimately, in order to be able to hand patients over at hospital, that requires bed availability and flow through the whole health and care system. But we're working incredibly hard with our partners in all areas of the South West to ensure that we're able to have resource available to respond to those patients that need us the most.
Well, the service has put on more call handlers, ambulances and indeed clinicians this year to help cope with the winter pressures. Now, the nominations have closed, the shortlist has been drawn up, and I'm pleased to say, after much careful deliberation, we have a winner. This year's BBC West Unsung Sporting Hero Award is a Bristolian who started a community football club. Hamza Hassan runs Phoenix Next Gen in Lockleys, coaching 6 to 18-year-olds. Jules Hyam went to surprise him.
It's a wet Sunday morning, a cold, wet Sunday morning, but that really doesn't matter because you can feel the energy and the passion just coming off the pitch. This club is easy to join, it is free to join, and it is open to all. Started 5 years ago by Hamza Hassan.
In my early 20s, 21 or 22, and we didn't have a safe place or safe environment in which we can play football. And also the people from my community, me and my friends, we started to drift apart from each other and we needed something to kind of bring us back together, and football was that.
What is it that drives you? Why do you feel so passionate about what you do?
That's a good question. I'd say the people, the people that I work with, the people that are part of our community, seeing them do what they do, seeing them here every single Sunday, even though the weather's poor, the way that they behave, the way that they act, I think that's what makes me do what I do.
Okay, put it back down. You all got it wrong. Every single one of you got it wrong.
Is he a nice guy?
Yes.
And what do you think about the club here?
Good. The club here is good, but 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10?
No, I give it 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10?
I'll give 0.
What? 0? I did say there was a lot of energy here.
What I really like about Hams is his motivation and his self and his drive. He never stops working. He's always thinking about what can I do next to improve. And the great thing about it is not about himself, it's about everyone else around him.
Kids also get a session where they talk about, motivating them to do better things, less on the screen, more focus on their education, more focus on their physical activities, physical health, their mental well-being. So he does all of that.
A massive round of applause to all the coaches here, please.
Hamza, I'm really sorry to interrupt. I know you've been nominated,
Yep.
but you have actually won.
Well, you can see what it means to the club, but what does it mean to him to win the award? Well, we can find out because he is here, the man himself right now. Congratulations, I'm absolutely thrilled for you. How does it feel?
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me, first of all. It feels really, really good, honestly. It's some of the things that you probably never dreamed about happen. You never thought it would happen to you, but it finally has. So yeah, I'm excited, I'm happy.
Good.
And so is my colleagues.
You brought in the trophy,
yes,
you've got here, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But you haven't kept it to yourself, have you? You've been out and about showing it to all your friends and the people that you work with.
Yep. We started this together. I'm not the only one that's kind of built our organisation, the football club. So it was only right. But yeah, if you go on Instagram, you'll probably see different shots of 20 different people that's been holding this, and rightly so.
It's lovely that you're proud. Just take us back to a bit about the history about when you set up this group and how popular it is.
It's very, very popular. At the time, we felt like as if we were filling a plug within our community. There was nowhere in and around Bristol where we can actually play football in a safe environment and feel like it was our home. And luckily for us at the time, we just came together as a volunteering group, and we just started our football club, which then turned into a community organisation. The other thing is, David, we've always wanted to be more than a football club. So football is not the only thing that we do, so we try and focus on individuals' personal development and the things that they do outside of football.
That's amazing. And you're not content with just keeping it to Bristol. You've spread your wings because you've been to Somalia.
Yes, we've been to Somalia, and that was a great test for us. So we took the sports youth camp that we currently do here in Bristol, and we tried to replicate that internationally. So we took it to Somalia, and we done a session for them. It went really, really well. But the biggest thing that we learned from that is if they're over there and then they can be happy at some of the things that they work on over there, then we can also do it here.
That's a really great thing to do. But all these things take money, don't they? What's the fundraising situation like?
Fundraising situation, we're currently trying to fundraise for the next sports camp that we're trying to do currently in January. But we've been relying on grants and funding since we started, and we still are. And we're trying to think of a way in which we can be self-sustainable as an organisation going forward and looking ahead.
And this is, you have to work as well. This isn't a full-time occupation for you. So how many hours do you put in to this voluntary work, do you think?
Wow, it's difficult to work out, David, and that's a very good question. I think it's more about the time. Well, I probably spend about 20 to 30 hours a week on this. But I think I spend more time thinking about it than actually working.
And you drive taxis as well, so you're a busy guy.
Yeah, I'm a taxi driver, yeah.
And now you're going to go to London, you're going to represent us, and you're going to the Sports Personality of the Year Award. Yeah. Actually, I've taken you to the wrong place. You're going to Salford, near Manchester.
Yeah.
Good luck with that. And you're going to probably meet Gary Lineker and all the rest of the crowd. How do you feel about that?
I feel very, very good. I feel very, very good and happy and privileged to be in the situation that I'm in now.
Well, we're privileged to have you representing us, and we're privileged to have you as our first guest on our news sofa. What do you think of the set?
It looks really, really good and fancy, honestly. It looks nice. Clearly you spent a lot of money on it, Dave.
Oh, we won't go into that. But thank you.
No
Lovely
worries,
to see you.
You too.
Well, it's a big night for Bath City as they've sold out Twerton Park for only the first time in almost 50 years. Local rivals Yeovil Town are the visitors, and our sports reporter Damien is there for us now. Good evening to you, Damien.
Evening, David. Yes, it was the 4th of January 1964, the last time Bath City sold out ahead of a match. It was an FA Cup tie against Bolton Wanderers. Malcolm Allison, some of you may remember him, was the manager here. He went on to Man City and Crystal Palace. Well, that match finished 1-1 before going to a replay, which unfortunately Bath City lost 3-0. Well, as for the current day, average attendance here around 1,200, but tonight it's 3 times that amount, and someone knows all about this fixture is James Carlin. James, for people who aren't familiar with the Somerset derby, tell us all about it.
Yeah, well, Somerset derby is between Bath City and Yeovil. I think it's been played about 270 times. You can hear what it means to these Yeovil fans here tonight. It means a lot to the Bath fans as well. Turned out in big numbers tonight for this game, yeah. And
talk us about the rivalry between these two sides that goes back, more than 100 years.
Yeah, I think it goes way, way back. I mean, both the clubs used to compete in the top league of non-league football. Both had big FA Cup records, obviously based in Somerset. Maybe not played each other so much recent years, but, we're back in the same league. Like, all the City fans are really excited about this. Is a big derby game for us. So.
I was going to say, you're also the fans liaison officer, so you know what it means to Bath City fans. I mean, what would a win here tonight mean for you?
It's huge. It's absolutely huge. For us, it'll be a real crowning achievement for us. We've really grown as a club. The foundation, the youth all pulling together. The attendances have improved a lot, and I think for us it just shows that where we've come on our journey as well. So yeah, really excited about this one. Can't wait.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, cheers.
Thanks
you.
for being here. There are 1,100 Yeovil fans here tonight, and one of them is Callum. Callum, I know this is your first Bath City Yeovil match, but what does it mean to Glovers as a whole?
Well, obviously it is my first, but I'm still excited for it. Any Somerset derby is really exciting. But for the older people, it means so much. I'd put it almost on the same par as the Weymouth game, really. It's so much. The Somerset, it's probably the two big Somerset clubs really coming together. And it means so much to both sets of fans.
Now, I know you guys would prefer not to be in National League South, but how much are you enjoying this season?
It is fun, to be fair, going to loads of different grounds. And some of them not as much as we'd like to go to, but the attendance has been brilliant. The National League South so much fun. Obviously, we had that winning run where we went 14 in a row. It's just been so much fun, this league.
And briefly, you're top of the table. How confident are you you'll go straight back up?
I don't want to jinx anything, but I am quite confident that we can go up. I don't know if it'll be to win the league, but I reckon we'll win the playoffs if we don't win the league. That home attendance in the playoffs will be massive for us if we need it.
Excellent. Well, hope you enjoy tonight.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, one man who didn't enjoy last night was the Bristol Rovers manager, Matt Taylor. His first game in charge, he saw his side lost and get knocked out of the EFL trophy. Luke Thomas actually put them up 1-0 up in the first half, so they were leading at the break, but then 2 goals from Crawley in the second half saw them progress into the next round. Forest Green also out of the EFL trophy. They lost 1-0 at home to Oxford. If you're not one of the lucky 3,500 people here, like James and like Callum, who are in here tonight, you can listen to full match commentary on BBC Radio Somerset. Kick-off just under an hour, build up from 7 o'clock. That's the place to tune in.
Right, we'll be there listening. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have a good night tonight. Now, behind door number 6 in our Advent calendar tonight is the story of a man who didn't like Christmas. Well, that doesn't sound very festive, does it? Here's Tracy Miller to explain all.
The unmistakable cheer from the season's most famous miser, Ebenezer Scrooge.
If I had my way, every idiot who runs around saying Merry Christmas would be boiled with his own Christmas pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart.
But Ebenezer may not be a figment of Charles Dickens' imagination. Meet the very real James Jemmy Wood, also known as the Gloucester Miser.
He was known as the wealthiest commoner in England because at the time of his death he was worth £1.25 million, which in those days was a lot of money.
A real Victorian millionaire, he became famous in the city of Gloucester for his miserly ways.
This is the actual bank that he inherited from his grandfather, and it was the base of all his fortune. But it's gone from big bucks to Big Macs, and it's now a McDonald's.
Smashing, isn't it? Well, where would we be without these characters? We'd be nowhere.
Yeah, I'll have to tell my mum. She'd be really interested, actually.
Some might call bar humbug to this connection, but Dickens was a frequent visitor to Gloucester, and many are convinced that Jemmy Wood was an inspiration in looks and personality.
Gloucester is full of so much history. We love it.
You're going to claim him?
Of course, yes. The
connection between the city and Jemmy Wood and Dickens and A Christmas Carol probably isn't as well known as it should be, but hopefully after tomorrow there'll be a few more people that do know about it.
When the Gloucester Miser died, his coffin was brought down this street and a crowd gathered around, and it said they threw stones at it.
They hated it. They had to put up with him because his shop was a very useful shop and he provided banking facilities. But when he died, they were so happy.
Jemmy Wood was finally buried here and held on to his fortune till his death. He never married or had children, and it was hoped he would leave some money to the city. But true to form, Gloucester never saw a penny. Tracy Miller, BBC Points West, Gloucester.
See, I didn't know any of that. Every day is a school day, but we're going to have a happy Christmas, aren't we, if possible? But we've got some bad weather to get through potentially first. Ian is here with me in the studio. Hi, Ian.
Today has been another day of respite, much like yesterday, from rain. I'm talking about David. Yes, hello everybody. Well, we had Weather Watcher pictures this morning from Shaftesbury. Thanks to Courier Ant for that one. You'll notice the fog was quite conspicuous in the distance there, not so at Weston-super-Mare. Beautiful photograph, I think, despite the cloud. Thank you to Roy C. for that one? Well, it's going to be a different story tomorrow. And yet again, we have Met Office yellow warnings for heavy rain, yet again with a fair part of Somerset and Dorset in the crosshairs of these. Now, these run sequentially. You'll notice the timestamps here. The first of those coming into force at midnight tonight. It'll run through till 7 p.m. tomorrow. The second one, joining it, comes into force at 11 a.m, running through to 10 p.m. The amounts of rain, 20 to 40 millimetres in this area quite widely. There will be more than that over the uplands. This area of Dorset gives me particular concern in that respect. Slightly less rain likely out towards the east. However, it will be wet for all, and it is turning that way now out towards the west-southwest. The first of a sequence of fronts running towards us, but later tomorrow comes the most active of those into the middle part of the day and into the early afternoon. A blustery picture developing through all of this period, as will be the case for Friday. Still some further spells of rain around, and there is more waiting in the wings for the weekend at times. But at the same time, if you look at the air mass temperatures dominated by yellows and oranges, it will be turning increasingly mild despite everything else that will be going on. And that is going on right now with the first of those fronts, a warm front marching in from the west-southwest, giving periods of rain. Some of that could be moderate to heavy in places through the course of the night, but you can see it's all fairly fragmentary in nature. Will be turning windier overnight. The lowest temperatures that we'll see will be up towards the northeast where the front arrives last. So 3 to 5 Celsius there, that bit higher towards the southwest. So tomorrow then, through the first part of the day, again some periods of rain about, but it's really as we head through late morning, lunchtime, early mid-afternoon that we really start to up the ante with some of that rain turning decidedly heavy on that last front running through. So that could tip the balance in terms of the risk at least of some localised flooding. Well worth keeping across the Environment Agency website for that if you live in those areas that have been prone so far this week. And you can see that into the evening actually the conditions will dry up, they'll clear up and they will improve. Temperatures tomorrow, I mean, that's somewhat academic, frankly. 8 to 11 Celsius, like I say, it will be a noticeably windy day, as it will be on Friday, with some further spells of rain in the mix, particularly closer to the Bristol Channel. But you'll see that uptick in temperatures through this period, above average for the time of year. That said, the weekend, again, we'll see further periods of rain. Saturday morning looks prone. Sunday, probably morning, looks prone. There will be some drier spells, despite how the graphics are shaping up there. Not all bad news, but hardly good news.
I'm a bit fed off of getting soaked, aren't you?
Yeah, so are my dogs.
Okay. Will you come back tomorrow? Oh. We're going to need you. Thank you so much for that. I have loved being with you this evening. Thank you so much for your company. I'm back again at 10. But for now, from all of us on the team, thank you for watching and bye-bye.